Welcome to Real Fake Talk, where we dive into fascinating discussions about books, music, and more, powered by AI-driven conversations. If you're into thought-provoking content with a twist, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this unique journey. For more content, head over to our website at realfaketalk.com.
All right, ready to dive into Moby-Dick with us.
Let's do it.
But before you go, picturing a giant whale and a guy named Ahab out for revenge, hold on a sec.
Okay. I like where this is going.
We're going way deeper than the surface on this one, trust me. We've got some really interesting excerpts, actually, from the early chapters of Moby-Dick.
Oh, interesting. The early chapters, really, even for people who, they think they know the story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because trust me, there is so much more going on than meets the eye. Even if you think you know the basic plot, even these early chapters, they're packed with these little surprises, these little hints of the bigger themes that Melville is going to explore throughout the entire book.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, so set the scene. What are we looking at? Early chapters. What's going on?
Okay, so right off the bat, chapter 1, we meet Ishmael, our narrator. And he's got this whole, woe is me, I need to go to sea thing going on. He even talks about having the hypos.
The hypos.
Yeah, and wanting to knock people's hats off.
I like chuckle. Okay.
It's almost comical, but also kind of dark when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, is this Melville himself sneaking in here?
Yeah, you have to wonder if Melville's own experiences, maybe with depression, are woven into Ishmael's voice, right?
Basically.
I mean, that's one of the things that makes Moby-Dick so fascinating, I think. It's like there's this whole layer of possible autobiography mixed in with these really insightful observations about human nature.
And the ocean itself. I mean, it almost becomes a character in itself, this powerful force that draws in people like Ishmael who are feeling lost or restless.
Yeah.
You know what's so interesting? Melville actually argues that everyone feels that pull toward the ocean, even if they've never even seen it.
Really?
It's like he's saying there's something primal about it, something hardwired into us as humans.
Huh.
So Ishmael ends up in New Bedford, this bustling whaling town.
Okay.
And here's where it gets interesting. Melville could have just thrown us right onto the ship with these guys, right?
Yeah.
But instead, he gives us this whole satirical look at life on land before these guys set sail.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's like we're getting a glimpse into this whole world, this pre-whaling world.
It's like stepping back in time, and some of the details Melville includes are hilarious. Like, he describes these wannabe whalers trying to look all tough and salty, ordering ridiculous things for their outfits. It's like they're going to a costume party or something.
Yeah. Dryly. It's like they think they're going to be posing for a portrait, not, hunting a whale.
Yes.
Melville seems to be hinting that for a lot of these guys, whaling is more about the idea of adventure than the harsh reality.
Totally.
It kind of makes you wonder, what illusions are we clinging to in our own lives, right?
Oh, for sure. And just when you think you've got Melville figured out, he hits you with the Whaleman's Chapel.
Okay.
These memorials to all the sailors lost at sea, talk about a mood shift.
Wow, yeah. Heavy.
It's this stark reminder of the danger these men are facing. And Melville puts it right there in front of us, right from the start. Each inscription is like a tiny story of loss, but also this testament to the hold the sea has on these people.
Right. They know the risks, but they're still drawn to it.
Exactly. But then Ishmael somehow manages to find himself feeling cheerful after that.
Yeah.
It's like he's accepting this risk as part of some cosmic joke.
Interesting. So he's acknowledging the danger, but almost embracing it.
Yes. And that's exactly where I think Melville starts to really dig into this whole idea of fate.
What's fate? Okay.
Like, is Ishmael choosing this path, or is he being pulled by some force beyond his control?
Right.
It's a question that resonates throughout the whole book, and I think it's something that you, the listener, really have to consider as you read. How much agency do we really have in our own lives?
That's a big one.
It is a big one. And then we get to the Spouter Inn.
Okay.
Which, honestly, that place deserves its own deep dive.
Small laugh.
First of all, there's this bizarre painting that Ishmael spends forever trying to describe.
I remember that. It's this whole thing.
It's like, even with Melville's incredibly detailed description of it, it's still this incredibly strange and unsettling image.
Definitely. It sticks with you.
It does. But the way that he writes about the violence of it, the whale practically attacking this ship, you have to wonder, like, is this foreshadowing what's to come?
Right, right. It's ominous.
It is. And as if a creepy painting wasn't enough, we're introduced to Queequeg, the tattooed cannibal, who also happens to be incredibly polite.
Oh, yes. Queequeg.
Talk about contrasts.
Right.
Queequeg is like the ultimate other in this
For
story.
sure.
And I think through him, Melville really makes us confront our own prejudices.
Oh, absolutely.
He's making us ask ourselves, like, is Queequeg really as savage as we initially think he is?
Yeah.
Or is that just our own fear and our own preconceived notions talking?
It's so easy to jump to conclusions based on appearances, isn't it? Melville really makes you question those first impressions.
He does. It's amazing. We're only a few chapters in, and Melville's already just blowing my mind.
I know, right? It's like he's setting off these little depth charges of meaning that you don't even fully appreciate until later, but trust me, they're there.
And the thing is, Melville manages to, like, sneak all this deep stuff in while also being incredibly funny. Like, the landlord at the Spouter Inn casually selling shrunken heads to his guests.
Oh, yeah.
Pure comedic gold.
It's that classic satirical style he uses so well. By making the outrageous seem totally normal, it's like he forces us to question what we even consider normal in the first place. It's like he's holding up a mirror to society and saying, take a good look at yourselves.
Yeah.
And it's not just the landlord. Think about that whole scene at the Spouter Inn. You've got Ishmael, who's totally afraid of sleeping in the same bed as a cannibal.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they end up becoming best friends.
Right.
It's those kinds of unexpected twists that make you realize Melville is constantly playing with our expectations. He challenges our comfort zones. He forces us to confront our own biases.
Totally. Like, don't judge a book by its cover or a harpooner by his tattoos.
Exactly.
I've read Moby-Dick multiple times, and I swear, every time I discover something new, it's like peeling back layers of an onion.
Right.
Except instead of making you cry, it makes you think.
That's the mark of truly great literature. It's like the ocean Melville writes about. There's always something more to explore depending on how deep you're willing to go.
And speaking of going deep, let's talk about Ishmael's decision to actually go whaling. I mean, this guy just spent a whole chapter obsessing over memorials to dead sailors.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving him?
Well, remember that line from chapter 1 where Ishmael says, I love to sail forbidden seas and land on barbarous coasts? That one always stuck with me. I think deep down, Ishmael is searching for something that goes beyond the ordinary, even if it means facing danger.
Yeah.
It's not just a job for him. It's like this primal urge to confront the unknown. Almost spiritual in a way.
Absolutely. And that's where I think the ocean becomes more than just a setting in Moby-Dick.
Oh, for sure.
It represents this vast, untamed force that both terrifies and completely captivates Ishmael. And on a deeper level, I think it represents the unpredictable nature of life itself.
Okay, so just to recap, we've got lost souls seeking solace in the sea, a pre-whaling world full of, these quirky characters, ominous memorials to the dead, a cannibal with a harpoon, and a narrator who's just itching for adventure.
Right.
Where does Melville take us from here?
Ooh, that's where things really get interesting. Because now Melville starts to lay the foundation for the deeper philosophical and metaphorical themes that drive the rest of the novel.
It's funny. We've been talking about Moby-Dick for a while now, and we haven't even really talked about, the whale itself.
It's true.
Moby-Dick.
Yeah, it's deliberate on Melville's part, though, wouldn't you say?
Totally.
He wants to make sure we understand that this book is about so much more than just this hunt for some giant whale. It's about, our place in the world, our own internal struggles, that kind of thing. Right? Like he's saying, the whale. That's just the tip of the iceberg, folks.
Exactly. Let's dive a little deeper, shall we?
Right. So Melville uses the whale, Moby-Dick, as this powerful symbol.
Oh, absolutely.
He's this massive, unknowable force of nature.
Right.
That both terrifies and completely captivates those who cross his path.
Totally.
I always think about that line for the book, the white whale swam before him as the monomaniac incarnation of all those malicious agencies which some deep men feel eating in them.
Oh, wow.
Chilling, right?
Yeah. It's deeply unsettling.
It is. But Moby-Dick becomes this all-consuming obsession for Ahab, obviously.
Right.
But on this deeper level, I think he represents these universal fears and anxieties we all have, these things that we can't control, the things that, we might not even want to admit we're afraid of.
It's like that feeling of being completely overwhelmed by something so much bigger than yourself.
Exactly.
And you're right. It's something that everyone can relate to on some level.
So for everyone listening who's about to embark on their own journey with Moby-Dick, what does it all mean? What are we supposed to take away from all of this?
Well, as you read, I would encourage you to really pay attention to those smaller details. The symbolism Melville uses, the way he plays with language to create these incredibly vivid images and characters that stay with you long after you finish the book.
Oh, totally.
And don't be afraid to come to your own conclusions.
Yes.
I think one of the most exciting things about Moby-Dick is that it's open to multiple interpretations.
Oh, for sure.
What resonates with you? What parts of the story connect with your own experiences? Because even though this book was written over a century ago,
Right.
the themes Melville explores in Moby-Dick still feel incredibly relevant today.
Absolutely. It's a book that keeps you thinking even after you've finished the last page.
It's a book that rewards rereading. Every time you come back to it, you're going to notice something new. It's like the ocean itself, full of these hidden depths.
There you have it. A deep dive into the world of Moby-Dick, a book that's so much more than just a whale story.
So much more.
Hopefully you're feeling a little more prepared to tackle this literary giant.
Yeah.
And hey, maybe you've even discovered a newfound appreciation for philosophical innkeepers and the deeper meaning of shrunken heads. But as you set sail with Ishmael, keep an eye out for those hidden depths and unexpected connections. Melville's got a whole universe of meaning tucked away in those pages, just waiting to be discovered.
Thanks for tuning in to Real Fake Talk. We hope you enjoyed today's AI-powered conversation and found it as thought-provoking as we did. If you liked what you heard, make sure to subscribe and leave a review. It really helps us out. Don't forget to check out more content and updates on our website at realfaketalk.com. Until next time, keep the conversations going. And remember, nothing is quite as real as a good fake talk.